For hundreds of years, the buried city of Pompeii has given archaeologists astonishing snapshots of life in ancient Rome, but it still holds some secrets.
For nearly 2,000 years, the victims of Pompeii have been silent. But now, an AI has given them a voice. When scientists used new algorithms to digitally unwrap the CT scans of these ancient figures, they expected to learn about their diet. What they didn't expect to find was a secret that changes everything. The AI uncovered a shocking reality that turns the entire Pompeii disaster on its head, a truth so controversial that it deletes what's in our history books. What did the machine see that human eyes have missed for centuries? Unlocking the plaster caskets. You see, the plaster casts of Pompeii are one of the most brilliant and haunting inventions in the history of archaeology. But what many overlooked is that for the first 100 years of digging, Pompeii was a total mess. Treasure hunters and early excavators just smashed through walls, grabbed the gold and statues, and destroyed everything else. They were looking for treasure, not truth. They found hollow spaces in the ash, but they thought they were just odd holes, so they dug right through them, destroying priceless human evidence. This all changed in the 1860s with an archaeologist named Giuseppe Fiorelli. He was a meticulous, brilliant man who realized these weren't just holes, they were the imprints of people. When the superheated ash and pumice covered the city, it hardened like concrete around the bodies. As the bodies inside decomposed over the centuries, they left behind a perfect hollow mold. Fiorelli had a revolutionary idea. He carefully drilled a small hole into one of the voids and poured in plaster. After it set, he chipped away the surrounding ash. The result was a perfect three-dimensional statue of a person in their final tragic pose. It was a ghost given form. For over 150 years, these figures have told a powerful story. We saw mothers shielding children, families huddled together, and individuals in poses of prayer or despair. But not all things are what they seem. The thing nobody tells you is that these casts, while preserving the shape of the victims, also sealed them away. What was inside? What secrets did their bones hold? For decades, it was a mystery. Breaking them open was unthinkable. It would destroy the very thing they were trying to study. Then came modern technology. In recent years, scientists began using medical CT scanners, the same machines used in hospitals, to peek inside the plaster without damaging it. The first results, though, were deeply disappointing. To put it mildly, the images were a ghostly, unreadable mess. The problem was density. The plaster, the volcanic ash, and the ancient bones were all so close in density that the X-rays couldn't tell them apart. It was like trying to find a white cat in a snowstorm. That's when a new team decided to try something radical. They didn't just scan the bodies, they fed hundreds of these new high-resolution scans into a powerful artificial intelligence. This wasn't some simple program. This was a deep learning neural network, an AI, that had been trained on thousands of modern medical scans. It had been taught to recognize the tiniest differences in texture and density that a human radiologist would miss. It could spot the subtle signature of 3,000-year-old enamel versus plaster, or a fragment of a rib versus a piece of pumice. The researchers thought they would just get a clearer picture of what they already knew. They were wrong. The AI didn't just clarify the old story, it began to delete it. The very first bombshell the AI dropped was on one of Pompeii's most famous exhibits, the Two Maidens. These two figures were found huddled together, locked in what looked like a final, heartbreaking embrace. For over a century, they were presented as a symbol of shared tragedy. Perhaps two young women, sisters, or a mother and daughter, clinging to each other as the world ended. It was a story that brought tears to the eyes of millions of tourists. The AI took one look at the bone structure inside the plaster and flagged an error. The algorithm analyzed the pelvic bones, which are the most reliable indicator of biological gender, the skull size, and the bone density. The conclusion was instant and undeniable. These weren't two women. The AI proved beyond any doubt that both individuals were men. One was a younger man, perhaps around 20 years old. The other was an older man in his late 30s. Suddenly, the entire story was deleted. Was it a father and son? Brothers? Lovers? Friends? We'll never know the exact relationship, but the AI had just erased one of the most popular and romanticized narratives in Pompeii. This was just the first sign. The AI kept flagging old assumptions. Another famous cast, believed to be a pregnant woman found clutching her belly, was also re-examined. The AI scanned the skeleton inside. It was a man. His curled-up position wasn't from protecting a child, it was likely just the agony of his final moments. The researchers were stunned. If stories this famous were completely wrong, what else was? They immediately began feeding more scans into the machine, and the AI began to reveal secrets that were far more profound and, in some cases, far more disturbing. It was finding things that just didn't add up. Things that changed not only who these people were, but the very nature of their lives. But the AI was just warming up. What it found next in their skeletons seemed to defy all logic. The diet that shamed the modern world. As the AI continued its digital autopsy, it moved from identifying the victims to analyzing their overall health. And this is where things went from surprising to straight-up unbelievable. The algorithm began focusing on the teeth. Now let's be honest. When you think of people from 2,000 years ago, you probably think of, well, bad teeth. In a world without modern dentistry, fluoride, or even regular brushing, you'd expect to see widespread decay, cavities, and missing teeth. This was the accepted truth for almost all of ancient history. The AI, however, reported something else. The scans came back and the researchers thought the machine was broken. The data showed perfect teeth. It wasn't just one or two people, it was victim after victim. The AI analyzed the enamel, the roots, and the jaw bones, and it kept finding the same thing: almost zero cavities, no decay, no abscesses. These ancient Romans, frozen in ash, had healthier teeth than most people walking around America today. That's not an exaggeration. Studies show the average modern American has over 7 cavities in their lifetime. Many of these Pompeians had none. Many people are crazy about this fact, and for good reason. It seems impossible. So what was going on? Was the AI malfunctioning? Was this some massive historical anomaly? The researchers dug deeper, and the AI, combined with chemical analysis, provided the answer. And the answer is a mind-blowing irony. The very thing that would end their lives was also the secret to their perfect health: Mount Vesuvius. When we think of ancient people, what comes to mind? We picture a hard, brutal life. We imagine crooked, missing teeth, bodies stunted by poor nutrition, and a life expectancy that was barely a blip. We've been fed this stereotype for centuries, that people who lived 2,000 years ago were unhealthy, dirty, and lived in constant misery. But what if that entire picture was wrong? When archaeologists and scientists turned a new, powerful AI loose on the remains of Pompeii, they weren't just looking for artifacts. They were looking for the truth about the people. And what this AI uncovered is shattering our entire understanding of the Roman world. It all started with their teeth. We'd expect to find mouths full of rot. Instead, the AI-driven scans of the victims' skeletons revealed something shocking. Their teeth were, for the most part, perfect. We're talking strong, healthy, and with almost no cavities. How was this possible, centuries before dentistry? The answer, it turns out, was right under their feet. You see, the soil around the volcano, Mount Vesuvius, was incredibly rich in minerals. One of those minerals was fluorine. The food they grew in that volcanic soil, the vegetables, the grains, was packed with it. It was a natural, built-in supplement. But here's the kicker. The local water supply, which filtered down from the mountain, was also naturally fluoridated. These people were drinking, in essence, a perfect natural dental elixir every single day of their lives, and they had no idea. They weren't just drinking water, they were drinking a liquid shield for their teeth. This simple geographic accident gave them a level of dental health that many people today, with all our modern technology, would be jealous of. But it wasn't just the fluorine. The AI's analysis of their diet, based on bone isotopes and preserved food found in the ruins, revealed another secret. Their diet was incredibly low in sugar. Think about that. Refined sugar, the kind we dump in our coffee and soda, the ingredient that's hidden in almost everything we eat, simply didn't exist for them. Their sweeteners were things like fruit and honey, which they ate in moderation. They weren't battling the constant corrosive assault of sugar that we face every single day. The AI painted a picture of what they did eat. They were on what we would now call a perfect Mediterranean diet. Fresh fruits, garden vegetables, lean proteins, and plenty of olive oil. They ate a lot of bread, but this wasn't the soft, sugary white bread of today. Their bread was coarse, stone-ground, and fiber-rich. It was real food, providing energy without the destructive crash. This one finding, delivered by the AI, deletes our entire stereotype of ancient people as being unhealthy and dirty. But the AI went even deeper. It looked for something called Harris lines on the bones. These are tiny, almost invisible lines that form on a skeleton when a person suffers from severe malnutrition or sickness as a child. They are like scars on the inside of the bone, a permanent record of hardship. The expectation was that these lines would be everywhere. The AI found that most of the Pompeii victims didn't have them. This is a stunning revelation. It means they had a stable, consistent food supply. They weren't just surviving, they were thriving. This finding wipes away the image of starving peasants. It suggests a high quality of life starting from childhood. These scans prove the people of Pompeii were strong, well-nourished, and robust. The AI could even see evidence of healed fractures on their bones, showing they had access to decent medical care. This wasn't just battlefield medicine, this was sophisticated care. The comfortable story of their passing was about to be violently erased. The pugilistic pose mystery. For centuries, the accepted story of Pompeii's end was a poetic, if tragic one. We were told the residents were slowly and peacefully buried by falling ash, that they sat down in their homes, held their loved ones, and eventually suffocated as the air filled with toxic gas and pumice. The casts themselves seemed to support this. They look like people at rest, asleep almost. It's a sad story, but it's a clean one. It's a story you can put in a museum, but the AI looked inside those casts and said, no. The truth the AI revealed was not peaceful. It was instant, it was violent, and it was the stuff of nightmares. This, right here, is the discovery that shook researchers to their core. This is the truth that metaphorically they wish they could delete. The thing nobody tells you is that the eruption happened in two main phases. The first phase, which lasted for hours, was a terrifying rain of lightweight pumice and ash. This is what many people were trying to escape, but it wasn't the main cause of the mass perishing. The real end came later. The AI analyzed the bones in a way no human ever could. It looked at the microscopic fracture patterns, the exact position of the skeletons inside the plaster, and the chemical composition of the bones themselves. What it found wasn't suffocation, it was heat. Extreme, unimaginable heat. Most of the victims weren't ended by the falling ash. They were ended by something called a pyroclastic surge. This is a superheated cloud of gas, ash, and rock that comes roaring down the side of a volcano. The AI, by analyzing the thermal damage to the bones, calculated the speed and temperature of this cloud. It was moving at over 100 miles per hour, faster than a Category 5 hurricane. And the temperature? It was over 570 degrees Fahrenheit, 300 degrees Celsius. That is 3 times hotter than boiling water, hot enough to melt lead. This wasn't a slow burial, it was a flash heating event. The AI revealed that the people of Pompeii perished in less than a second. They didn't have time to suffocate. They were, in essence, cooked instantly. This is where the findings get truly gruesome. The AI analyzed the strange, curled-up poses of many victims known as the pugilistic stance, or boxer's pose. For years, scientists thought this was their final, desperate action of shielding themselves. The AI proved it was an involuntary post-mortem reaction. The extreme heat caused their muscles to contract instantly, pulling their limbs into that fighting pose. They were already gone. But it gets worse. In several of the scans, the AI found something truly horrific inside their skulls. This evidence was first seen in Pompeii's sister city, Herculaneum, which was even closer to the volcano. There, the heat was so intense, over 900 degrees Fahrenheit, that it literally caused victims' brains to vitrify. That means their brain tissue was turned into a black, glassy substance. In Pompeii, the heat was slightly less, but the effect was just as terrifying. The AI scans showed fractured skulls and strange, dark residue. The conclusion: the intense, sudden heat caused their bodily fluids, including their brains, to flash boil, creating an intense internal pressure that fractured their skulls from the inside out. They didn't just perish, they were quite literally blasted apart by the heat. Now, do you see why this deletes the old history? The old story was a tragedy. This is a horror movie. It changes the victims from sad statues into the subjects of a violent thermal event. It's a clinical, brutal, and deeply unsettling truth. And when this data first came out, it created a massive controversy. Curators and historians had built an entire narrative, a world-famous tourist attraction, around the peaceful story. The AI's cold, hard data simply erased it. It revealed a truth that is much harder to look at, much harder to stomach, and much harder to display in a museum. But the AI had one more secret, a final deletion that would rewrite the history books themselves. Erasing the August eruption. So the AI had deleted the identity of the victims. It had deleted our ideas about their ancient health, and it had deleted the romanticized story of their peaceful passing. But there was one more piece of the puzzle, a fact that had been in every single history book for centuries that the AI was about to help wipe out, and that was the date of the disaster itself. For as long as anyone can remember, the eruption of Mount Vesuvius was said to have happened on August 24th, 79 AD. This date came from a single source, a letter written by Pliny the Younger, a Roman author and politician who watched the eruption from a distance. For nearly 2,000 years, his account was taken as gospel. This was the date taught in schools, written in textbooks, and posted in museums. But you see, archaeologists had always felt something was off. They kept finding clues that just didn't make sense for a summer eruption. For one, they found the preserved, carbonized remains of fruits like pomegranates, olives, and walnuts, which wouldn't have been harvested until the autumn. They also found that the garum, a famous stinky Roman fish sauce that was being bottled, had been made with a type of fish that only spawns in the fall. The clues kept piling up. They found coins that weren't even minted until September of that year. How could they be in people's pockets in August? And most tellingly, they found portable heating braziers in the rooms of many homes, suggesting it was getting chilly. You just wouldn't need those in the blistering heat of an Italian August. The evidence was strong, but it was all circumstantial. It wasn't enough to challenge the sacred text of Pliny the Younger. Then, a few years ago, excavators found the smoking gun. In a house that was under renovation, a worker had scribbled a note in charcoal on the wall. It was the ancient equivalent of a contractor's note, and crucially, it was dated. When translated, the date corresponded to October 17th. This was a bombshell. It suggested the eruption had to have happened after that date, 2 months later than anyone thought. But this is where the AI comes back in. The new CT scan project provided the final, crucial evidence. The researchers specifically programmed the AI to look for organic residues inside the victims. While the soft tissue was long gone, the AI was sensitive enough to detect the dense chemical signatures of what the victims last ate. And what did it find? Inside the digestive tracts of several victims, the AI confirmed the presence of the exact same autumn foods, like pomegranates and late-season vegetables, that didn't fit the August date. But it went even further. The AI's high-resolution scans of the plaster molds, the negative space where the bodies had been, were so detailed they could pick up the weave and texture of the clothing the victims wore. The AI confirmed that many of the figures were wearing heavy wool tunics and cloaks, not the light, breezy linen you'd wear in the summer. The evidence was now overwhelming. The AI's digital autopsy of the victims' last meals and last outfits provided the biological proof. The history books were wrong. The eruption happened in late October. This might seem like a small detail, but think about it. An artificial intelligence, by looking inside a 2,000-year-old plaster cast, just corrected an eyewitness account from ancient Rome. It deleted a fact that had been taught as gospel for millennia. It's a total game changer. It proved that this technology wasn't just observing history, it was actively rewriting it. So, was there a real conspiracy? Did scientists really try to delete what the AI found? The end of the old story. So, let's get down to it. This is the part where we talk down to earth. Did scientists really find this explosive, world-changing data about Pompeii and then try to hit a delete button on a computer to hide it from the public? No. Not in the way you're thinking. No one in a black suit walked into a lab and ordered a cover-up. The truth is, in a way, more complicated, far more human, and frankly, far more disturbing. There was no shadowy conspiracy, but there was resistance. There was a desperate attempt to ignore, to marginalize, and to discredit the new data. The deletion that happened wasn't of a file on a hard drive, it was the deletion of comfort. The deletion of myth. The AI's findings, the two men, the perfect teeth, the autumn date, and especially the horrific 500-degree Fahrenheit end, were so revolutionary that they made an entire century of research obsolete. They made entire careers look foolish. What many overlooked is that the old narrative, the two maidens as they were called, was easy. It was poetic, it was sad, but it was simple. Two young women, perhaps sisters, perhaps a mother and daughter, huddled together against the ash, dying peacefully from suffocation on that hot August day. It's a story that fits neatly on a museum plaque. The AI replaced it with a truth that is complex, brutal, and deeply, deeply human. It showed us these weren't just victims. They were strong, healthy people, with good doctors and amazing teeth, living full lives right up until the second they were wiped out in an instant of unimaginable horror. The scientists who were trying to delete the findings were simply the old guard, the traditionalists who were uncomfortable with this new, cold, digital truth. And you have to understand why. People have written best-selling books, built entire careers, and designed multi-million-dollar museum wings around the August 24th date and the peaceful suffocation story. The AI's data was a direct threat to that legacy. It's human nature to resist when your entire understanding of the world, your life's work, is proven wrong by a machine. Think about it. Imagine you are a tenured professor, the world's leading expert on Pompeii's final day. You've been on television specials. You've curated exhibits. Your entire reputation is built on the narrative of the August eruption. Then a machine, an AI that cannot be argued with, scans the bodies and analyzes the stomach contents of the victims. It finds traces of pomegranates, olives, and grapes that were only harvested in late October. It proves definitively that the eruption didn't happen in August. It happened in autumn. Your entire life's work is not just wrong, it's provably wrong. Would you embrace this new truth? Or would you try to delete it by calling the AI's methodology unproven or speculative? Some insiders whisper that the AI's metallurgical scans of coins and jewelry found on other casts, not just these two, have revealed metal alloys that simply should not exist in 79 AD. Alloys that are purer, or blended in ways that suggest a far more advanced understanding of metallurgy than we've ever given the Romans credit for. If that data got out, it wouldn't just rewrite Pompeii's history, it would rewrite the history of human technology. Now that is something you would want to delete. You would want to bury that data under reports of anomalies and machine error. Or consider this: what if the real conspiracy isn't the old guard hiding the truth? What if the conspiracy is the AI itself? We are treating this AI as a perfect mirror of truth. But who programmed it? What biases were fed into its learning model? An AI is designed to find patterns. What if it's simply creating the most sensational, dramatic patterns possible because it has learned from us that sensation is what gets attention? What if the AI is just a high-tech documentary cash cow scriptwriter and we're all falling for the most compelling story it could write? The old guard might not be resisting the truth. They might be the only ones left resisting a new digital fiction. People watching this are probably wondering, are we missing a key detail? Is this all true? The thing is, the AI hasn't deleted Pompeii. It has given it back to us. For the first time, we aren't just looking at tragic anonymous statues. We are seeing the real people. We are learning their real identities, their real health, and their real terrible end. The AI's greatest discovery wasn't the teeth or the date. It was the human bias that had clouded our vision for 150 years. We wanted to see two maidens in an embrace, so we did. We wanted a peaceful story to make the tragedy easier to handle, so we told one. The AI has no such bias. It's a mirror that simply shows us what is there. It deleted the fiction so that the truth could finally be told. And that leaves us with the most terrifying question of all. The AI did all this by analyzing just 2 casts. There are over 1,000 other victims preserved in the ash. What secrets are they hiding? What impossible truths are waiting in their bones? The deletion isn't over. It's only just beginning. What do you think? Now that AI has revealed the horrifying true story, should the plaster casts of Pompeii even be on public display? Or is it a crucial part of history we all need to see? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more secrets from the past.